We're the place where we dig into a whole stack of sources to pull out the really key insights, just for you. Today, we are tackling a true giant of cinema, Orson Welles' legendary 1941 film, Citizen Kane.
A classic, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And our mission here is to really unpack what makes this movie more than just a film. Why is it this perennial classic? Why did it change cinema history so much? We're working from a detailed look at the film itself, exploring, the central mystery, those groundbreaking techniques, and themes that still feel really relevant today.
Okay, let's unpack this.
What's fascinating here is, like you said, we're not just giving it a quick review. This is really about exploring Citizen Kane's deep impact, its lasting place in film history.
Yeah.
I mean, think about its reputation. It's got a staggering 99% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, 90% from audiences, which is also really strong, and 8.3 on IMDb. And, for decades, it was #1 on the Side and Side Critics poll, the greatest film ever made, basically, until 2012 finally knocked it off the top spot. Still incredible. And it takes you on such a compelling ride. At its core, Citizen Kane, it really is a mystery. It kicks off with the death of this super wealthy, kind of enigmatic newspaper guy, Charles Foster Kane.
Right.
And his very last word whispered, "Rosebud." That becomes the big question, the thing everyone's trying to figure out through the whole story.
Yeah.
So then we follow this journalist who's trying to uncover what Rosebud actually means. He goes around interviewing people who knew Kane at different times in his life.
Those interviews are key. They're fragmented. Sometimes they completely contradict each other. You hear from his guardian, his best friend, business associates, his mistresses, his second wife.
A real mix.
Exactly. And through them, the film pieces together Kane's life, but, and this is crucial, it's not linear. It jumps around. We see him go from this poor kid, suddenly taken from his parents into huge wealth, to becoming this powerful media mogul, but also increasingly alone. It's this complex picture, right? His huge ambitions, messy relationships, failed political dreams, and underneath it all, this deep, profound loneliness.
That non-linear approach, for the 1940s, that was just incredibly bold.
Oh, absolutely audacious.
It wasn't just what story they told, it was how they told it. It kind of forces you, the audience, to be an active participant. You're putting the puzzle together just like the reporter is.
Yeah, you have to work for it a bit.
It was a genuine milestone, largely because of the techniques Orson Welles and his cinematographer Greg Toland were brave enough to really push.
Definitely. And one of the biggest, most influential innovations was that deep focused cinematography.
Right. Talk about that a bit.
So Toland used these special lenses, right? And they managed to keep almost everything in the frame incredibly sharp, all at the same time.
The foreground, the background.
Exactly. Foreground, middle ground, background, all crystal clear. And this wasn't just showing off technically. It fundamentally changed visual storytelling. It let multiple things happen, multiple layers of meaning unfold in one single shot.
So the viewer could kind of choose where to look.
Precisely. It sort of democratized the frame. You could look around, discover details, almost like you do in real life. It adds so much density.
And building on that visual thinking, something that really struck me was the use of those really dramatic low-angle shots. Welles often filmed from way down low, sometimes even showing the ceilings, which apparently was a big no-no in Hollywood then.
Yeah, that was quite unconventional.
How did they get that sort of towering effect for Kane with that? What did it add psychologically?
That's a great point. Those low angles give characters, especially Kane, this monumental, almost oppressive feeling.
Oppressive, yeah.
That really amps up the psychological weight, the drama of what they're doing or feeling. Imagine looking up at someone towering over you. It creates awe, maybe intimidation.
A sense of being small, perhaps.
Exactly, or just overwhelmed. Wells used it brilliantly to shape how we perceive Kane's power, his influence, and maybe even how isolating that power was.
And that connects to the lighting, too, right? That sort of expressionistic lighting they used. It gave the film such a distinctive, moody feel.
Perfectly connected, they use what's called chiaroscuro lighting. Think high contrast, really bright lights, really deep shadows.
Stark contrast.
Very stark. And it wasn't just for looks. It cranked up the emotional intensity. Characters often half in shadow, suggesting maybe moral ambiguity, internal conflict.
Like a visual metaphor for Kane himself?
You could definitely read it that way.
Yeah.
Like his divided soul. This style, borrowed heavily from German Expressionism, was vital for creating that dramatic, almost noirish tone. It really underlines the themes of power and, again, Kane's growing isolation.
Moving beyond just the incredible visuals, the film is just packed with the symbolism and Pretty deep themes. Kane himself, he feels like the embodiment of the American dream, doesn't he? Rags to riches, self-made man, immense power.
He certainly starts that way, or seems to, but the film really critiques that idea. It shows how that relentless ambition, that constant need for control, it ultimately leads him to this profound spiritual emptiness.
Yeah, hollows him out.
And that emptiness is tied directly to the loneliness, the isolation we talked about. I mean, despite all the money, the influence, that ridiculous Xanadu palace he built this monument to stuff, he ends up completely alone, haunted, really, by a longing for something simpler, for his childhood maybe, for a real connection. And that's powerfully symbolized by Rosebud.
And speaking of Rosebud, that central mystery, it's fascinating how everyone the reporter talks to has a different Kane, a different piece of the puzzle.
Completely different takes.
The film does such a masterful job of suggesting that no single viewpoint, no matter how close someone was, can ever capture the whole truth of a person. It really hammers home how subjective truth is.
It really does. That's one of its core messages, I think. And Rosebud, it's more than just a word by the end, isn't it?
Which more?
It becomes this potent symbol of lost innocence, definitely. A childhood that was just snatched away. And maybe Kane's unmet emotional needs from way back then.
And maybe even a critique of just stuff.
Yeah.
Materialism.
Absolutely. On a bigger level, it's a powerful critique of materialism, showing how accumulating things, no matter how grand, it just can't replace genuine connection or fill that, hole in your heart.
And the vision behind all this. You have to talk about Welles himself. I mean, he was just 25.
Incredible, isn't it?
To direct, co-write, and deliver that performance as Kane, showing him from this charming young idealist to this bitter, lonely old man, his direction just feels so confident, so far ahead of its time.
A real tour de force. And let's not forget the supporting cast. Joseph Cotten, Dorothy Cummingore, they were all fantastic, really believable.
They absolutely were.
And the legacy, the influence of Citizen Kane, it's just huge. It was nominated for 9 Oscars, interestingly, but only 1 for Best Original Screenplay.
Right. Its initial reception was kind of complicated, wasn't it?
Oh, very. It faced serious controversy. It was actively suppressed, really, mostly because of the newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst.
Who Kane was pretty clearly based on, at least partly.
Partly, yes. And Hearst used his massive media power to try and basically bury the film, which makes its eventual recognition even more remarkable.
Yeah, fighting against that kind of power.
So despite that initial pushback and the fact it wasn't a huge box office hit right away, it later just gained immense critical acclaim. It influenced pretty much every major filmmaker since, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola. It really did set new standards for what movies could do.
So what does this all mean? Looking back at it all, Citizen Kane, it's clearly a masterclass in filmmaking, no question. It tears down the myth of the American dream in a way, makes you question what legacy and memory even are. We've talked about how it completely changed the language of film, that deep focus, the non-linear story, those low angles, the expressive lighting, all revolutionary.
Game-changing stuff.
And that central Rosebud mystery, it really nails the symbolism, lost innocence, emotional needs, the critique of just acquiring things, and the big themes, the dark side of the American dream, loneliness, how truth is slippery, they still hit home. They make you think about your own life, your ambitions, what really matters.
This raises an important question. What is the real cost of ambition? And how do we even define someone's legacy when it's seen through so many different subjective eyes?
That's a deep one.
Yeah. And look, some people watching it today might find the pacing a bit slow compared to modern films, or maybe they think the Rosebud reveal is a little too neat, too simplistic now.
I could see that.
But even with those caveats, the sheer craft of the film is just undeniable. It still challenges you, it makes you think, it inspires filmmakers. Whether you end up loving it for the story or just admiring the incredible technique, Citizen Kane really is essential viewing. If you care about film history, you kind of have to see it.
It truly is. Well, we hope this deep dive into Citizen Kane has maybe given you a fresh angle on why this film still grabs people, still sparks debate all these decades later. We definitely encourage you, go watch it again, or maybe watch it for the first time. See what layers you discover for yourself.